Weekly once again. We're at the end of March. It's the 29th today, the 30th tomorrow, a new week tomorrow. How you doing, Kaye? How you feeling on the markets?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not a great time for a lot of people, including myself. I think there are a lot of trading strategies that are not working very well. The Friday was a really bad candle. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll touch upon it, but and you'll see from just the data point how things are proceeding. It's definitely not the greatest. I would say the first quarter, the ending of the first quarter hasn't been that amazing.
No, of course. And we're here to kind of help you through it today, have a look at the market, give our thoughts and feelings and perspectives. So, of course, it's not financial advice, but of course, we do like to try and lend a hand, obviously, from basically the kind of the field, should we say. We're active traders and we're active traders on a daily basis, pretty much. So we know what it feels like at the moment and we know how to hopefully navigate it going forward, at least in some aspect. Make sure you put your ticker requests in the comments down below. We're happy to have a look at whatever we can. I understand we're probably not getting a huge amount today because of the nature of where the market is. But when you see lots of red in the markets, to me, it sends alarm bells that there's lots of opportunities. But you have to be patient and wait for the right time for those opportunities. So make sure you put those tickers, in the comments so we can have a look at those tickers and see what's going on.
And if
Of
we
course,
don't get tickers, we will go through the Max 7 and we'll go through some good opportunities that we have. I think there are good opportunities. And, for a lot of folks, this is like we are on the repeat, right? It's like it's very cyclical. It will always happen. There will be new events that will cause this to happen. You will go back to extreme fear. Everything looks red. Your portfolio looks red. But just like it takes, like this to turn from green to red, it takes just this from turn from red to green. And that's when most folks actually miss opportunities and they end up buying things at the top. Whereas these are the opportunity times. Now, it again, nobody's calling the bottom. But
no.
the point is, when you're at 200-day and 300-day moving averages, things start to get interesting.
Yep, and history tells you that. One last thing, obviously, thank you very much for Wolf as his platform. We really appreciate it and the support throughout this whole journey that we've been doing. We've been doing it for over 3 years now, which is absolutely magnificent.
Crazy, right?
But yeah, appreciate the support again from Wolf. And let's jump into the slideshow for today.
Let's do it. And we have Justin as well. So welcome back, Justin.
Yes, Microsoft, please. Yep, no worries. We can get that up a bit later on.
Yep.
Of course, we've got on the agenda today the market overview, fear and greed index, earnings preview, the SPY weekly chart, no QQQ charts. We're probably going to spend a bit of time talking about SPY, and the QQQ kind of runs in the same vein. So we thought we'd leave it for just the SPY this week. Our yearly performance today, and of course our picks of the week, which I've got SOFI today and Kaye has got Meta, and of course at the end your audience requests. So make sure you stick them in the comments. We've had a few come in, always good to see. Right, let's move on to last week's performance, and it is very red. I look very embarrassed all of a sudden. But yeah, I mean, where do I start? So we've got Nvidia, Microsoft down almost just around the kind of 5 to 7% mark. Google and Meta down over 10% each. Amazon actually doing pretty well considering only down 4%. And just behind your head there, you can see the Tesla sign, but you can't see the number there. That's minus 4.74%. So again, not overly bad. There's some big names on here. We've got Micron, bottom left there, 20% down. Very highly anticipated company, doing very well in terms of the fundamentals, so perhaps there's an opportunity there. I think, I looked at this chart earlier and I'm thinking a bit more patience needed. But yeah, I think Micron could be an opportunity for people in the future. So yeah, very, very red. Any other names pop out here for you, Kaye?
No, I think pretty much across the board. What I'll say is Apple, interestingly, is holding up. And even though I'm not covering Apple, I would put as an audience request, let's look at Apple as well. I'll put that in the list as well because we have some big names, Microsoft, Nvidia. So let's throw in Apple as well to look at it. It's getting interesting with Apple.
Apple, yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to looking at that chart a bit later on. I haven't looked at that chart for a while actually, so we're good to kind of get that going. Let's now turn our attention from less embarrassed face to a slightly whiter face. And there we go from the fear and greed index. You can see on the screen there, we've got extreme fear at 10. So we're getting down there. 1 week ago we were at 15. Last month we were at 41. So you can see we really have dropped down there. Do you want to speak to the left side of the screen there, Kaye?
Yeah, absolutely. So the put to call is 0.75. So generally in a decent market where you're looking at around the neutral greed, the put to call stays around the 0.6, 0.65 level. 0.75 just goes to show that we are hedging. The market is hedging a lot against the volatility. You can see the VIX has jumped up to 31, which is also, we used to deal with VIX around the 15 to 18 level. Sometimes it would be 13 level, right? So you can see those, the extreme fear is actually driven by the VIX along with the put to call, right? And then you can see the SPY. When was the last time you actually saw SPY actually down 3% or 2% plus? Like it was almost flat, right? A down 0.5, 0.8%. The next week it'll be up. And it was basically barcoding. Finally, we started to see some sort of a trend up or down. Now we are seeing a downtrend. Same thing with the QQQ, down almost 5%. Couple key events that are coming. I think next week is going to be again job numbers. So throughout the week, you have ADP numbers coming out, initial jobless claims numbers coming out. Very interesting to watch. Um, Apart from, I didn't put the geopolitical situation here because that's just going to be ongoing. The markets will be driven by news events, tweets, truth socials, people making comments. So there's nothing for us to actually plan around it, right? Whatever you'll plan, that plan will be thrown out of the window. So don't depend on that. What interestingly, booking.com, we don't talk about it, but it's basically the stock trades around $4,500. They are doing a 25 to 1 split. So that becomes an interesting ticker for trading, right? Because now it becomes much more accessible for folks to trade, especially options. Then on the 4/3, we will have Good Friday, so the markets will be closed. And with that, actually, Shaun, I think we are taking Easter Sunday off as well, right?
Yes, we are. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. Well done for remembering that. We will be off next week, obviously, for people to enjoy the Easter Sundays, eat lots of chocolate, whatever you do. Just enjoy it with the family, etc. Have you got any specific plans for Easter, or are you just chilling out?
Mostly chilling out and see. Hopefully, everything is going to be closed on Easter Sunday, but we'll see how things play out. We'll at least
Yeah,
go to the park. Hopefully, the weather is nice.
it's the same over here. Everything's closed on Easter Sunday. Do you close on Easter Monday as well? Because we
No,
close as
no,
well.
no. Monday back to work.
So we close for Monday. So we've got another
I
bank
know.
holiday then.
I know. In UK, it's very big. In US, a lot of companies are not even off on Fridays. Like their stock market is off, banks are closed, a lot of companies are closed, but many companies are open on Fridays.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then to the next slide. It's an interesting one. This is earnings but not much really going on. We've got Nike, Beyond Meat. Anything else that you're kind of looking there?
Well, I'm surprised that Virgin Galactic Space (SPCE) is still trading. I'm like, I don't even know what they're trading for, but okay. No, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, Nike is the main one for next week.
Yeah, it's the end of the earnings season, but don't worry, it'll probably start pretty soon, probably 3 or 4 weeks. It'll be right back around again with the banks, as always. Okay, let's move on swiftly to the next chart. Then we've got the SPY weekly. There's a couple of talking points here you can see on the screen here, but we can see in the last 5 weeks now, we've had 5 red weeks. We had a bit of a doji week. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Bit of a doji week 5 weeks ago, and then of course that really has come down since. So we had 2 kind of negative hammer candles in the 2 following weeks from the doji, and then just 2 very full aggressive selling weeks in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, the momentum is there. The momentum is definitely to the downside. I've got a couple of annotations here. You can say on the screen. So down at this level, we do have a volume profile. We've got the psychological level of around 600, which I think would be quite important. And of course, it is also a demand zone from when we had the kind of pop up there. And then the other point I wanted to bring up here was the weekly gap, which is quite rare, but we've got a weekly gap here at 572, which is 18% down from all-time highs, and subsequently this level here is actually 15% down from all-time highs. So there's still a lot of room to come. Of course, we may get a bit of a bounce, but I still think we might be on the path towards this sort of area. Now, of course, we can come to the previous resistance, which is about 610, but I do believe that the 600 will probably be the psychological level. It's not what people want to hear, but it's what people maybe should be prepared for. Of course, if we get a bounce, if we make all-time highs in the next couple of months, and everything with the geopolitical situation clears up a bit, then of course that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying "of course" today, so I apologise for that, viewers. It seems to be my word of the day, or phrase of the day, shall we say. But yeah, that's my kind of 2 cents on the market. I think we could probably, given the price action we had on Thursday and Friday specifically, I probably should have brought the data on here as well. It was really aggressive, and I think we could probably go in a little bit of a freefall mode, potentially. What are your thoughts here, Kaye? Is that a bit crazy to say that?
Well, first of all, based on your data that you have shown, there is a daily gap as well, which was created last year in June. So we have a gap at around 596 to 598, which falls right on the $600 psychological level,
Yeah,
which is only 5% from where we are, right? It's really not that 5.5% to actually touch that gap, the top of the gap. Most likely that is going to happen unless there is tomorrow they say, hey, we are closing the war and we are coming back home. Market will get we are below the 200 day. 300 days right coming around the 628 level. As they say, trend is your friend. I mean, the candle, I mean, at this point of time there is no change. We'll assume at this point of time that we are going to see the downside, and I do think that gap is going to be revisited. Whether it gets revisited next week or 3 weeks from now or 2 months from now, I think we are in this position. And then also, generally, I think I was looking at the data on Twitter. I think somebody posted. Generally, there is like about like a 15 or 18% pullback during election years.
yeah,
So will we get that pullback now? And I think that'll be ideal if we can actually get that pullback right now rather than we go back up and then again we have a pullback closer to the election.
yeah.
Uh, and get this done and
Get
over
it
with.
done. Yeah,
Yeah, because we are already in extreme fear, right? Most people are not very happy. Whether you see the day traders, whether you see the swing traders, whether you see the option sellers, I think you can see the impact on Twitter itself. Folks have calmed down. They are not posting as much. Uh, every account is, no more winning shots because nobody's winning any. Every stock is down. We have SaaS apocalypse happening on that side. Mag 7 is completely, down in the dumps. AI trade is failing across the board. What else is happening? We missed the rally on the oil.
yeah. We talked about that before the show,
But
weren't we? Yeah,
But the interesting part is like this is the opportunity that presents to you every cycle that you can
yeah,
add to your long-term positions. And I think we repeat like a broken record on this. Like this is not the first time we're talking about when we are in extreme fear. I think last year we were in the extreme fear during the April drawdown, and we talked about the same thing, right? These are the
that's it.
opportunities you get to actually buy into your long-term position because sometimes you got to switch your mindset from being a trader to an investor.
Exactly, and I think we can all get caught up and think, oh, actually, let's go all in now because obviously it's really fearful. Fear and greed is down at 13 or whatever it is, but the fear and greed can go lower. The SPY QQQ can go lower. Um, I'm not saying it's going to go down to, just like Kaye said, not going to go to 600 next week, but it can do. That's the kind of momentum that this market can get into, especially underneath this government. Of course, it's been very erratic. We can see Kaye touched on it briefly. Obviously, April of last year, that kind of March, April, May, similar sort of times as this time last year actually. 4 negative weeks, followed by a couple of weeks of stale price action, and then a massive drop after that, followed by a massive bounce. So these things can happen, and like you say, 15 to 20% corrections are very, very common. We haven't had one for ages, and that's why I've written down the percentage marks on the screen here as 15 and 18. So between this sort of level here, that is healthy. So that's why I say we can go down lower. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. Just be mindful of your portfolio, but keep it in a safe position. Take opportunities where you see them. If you are swing trading, maybe take less. Don't look so far out unless you're obviously leaps options, that kind of stuff. But I would kind of take those wins when you can see them. That's just my advice. I mean, it's not advice as such, but it's not my. That's how I would look at the market now. That's how I'm looking at the market now. Take the 5-10% and run. If it goes up 50, then so be it. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Let's move on to the next slide. This is the previous week's.
Looks like I won.
You did, yeah, you comfortably won. You were down 2%, and I was down 14%. So not ideal for ONDS. So yeah, I mean, again, I've got SOFI this week, and you've got Meta, but they're not reflective of just the 1 week's performance. We just do this slide for a bit of fun. But we are kind of level pegging, kind of 1 week on, 1 week off, isn't it? It's quite strange, actually.
I mean, if you think about it, this year I'm doing much better. Last year you had like wiped me off the floor. Like I was like like I was like down almost like you would be like 9 or 10 up, and I would be like 1 or 2 wins.
I think just to rub it in, I think I won 11 weeks in a row. That was
Exactly, something like that. Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
So you're doing much better
Yeah,
this year,
I'm
which is
taking it
good to see.
seriously this time.
Obviously, with our platforms, I am on YouTube, as you can see there, at the same handle as X, which is at Shaun Trades _. So I do plenty of YouTube videos. I had one come out yesterday, so go ahead and check that out. And of course, Kaye is down there. Where can we find you, Kaye?
Well, same as you, Twitter, YouTube, and Substack. Substack, I mean, I think I'm focusing more on Substack this year. But I'm being very selective in what I'm posting on Substack as well.
Yeah, I think that's key, especially in these times. So we've got a couple more comments that have come through, which I've completely neglected. Sorry. Ni Halala have come in with Palantir, Microsoft, IGV. Don't worry, we'll get to those very shortly. Money Managers come with LRCX, TSEM, and PLAB. Some crazy tickers there, but welcome back, Money Manager. Good to have you back on the stream, as well as obviously Ni Halala as well. I always struggle to say that name, but I think I've got it. I think I've got it down. Let's move on to the picks of the week then. My pick of the week is SOFI, but this is a bit more of a pick for the next couple of years, I think. It's looking quite nice, but I need to be patient. I need to not kind of rush into this. I did start a position on Friday, like a very small starter position to kind of get it into my portfolio, get me thinking about it. But what I wanted to do actually was bring up, whoops, let me come out of that. I know this is very unprofessional, but I'm going to bring this to, oh, that is not what I meant to do. Hang on. Okay, right. There's been technical issues.
Been a while, right? You have had technical issues. Been a
I
while.
tried to drag it into the browser, but then it pinged it into the same browser. Right, okay, here we go. Let's try that. No, it's done the same thing.
Okay.
Well, let's just talk about the chart for now. Hopefully when you're talking, I can get that sorted and maybe get a screenshot on the screen. But SOFI fundamentals are doing.
What are you looking for? I can maybe get it up on my side.
I was looking for the visual side of it, so you can see all the charts kind of going up nicely.
Okay, I'll get that screenshot for you. Hold on.
It's on the visual stocks.
Visual stocks.
website.
While you talk, I'll get that visual stock.
Yeah, so from a technical point of view, you can see there's basically a nice area here between 13 and 15, I think it is, something like that. This kind of red zone, I think anywhere around that 14 mark could be an interesting spot for investors. And of course, we do have a bit of a trend line coming through the bottom here. But that's where I look to kind of start a position. That's where the volume picks up, as you can see. But I think the real bulk of the move is to do with the actual company itself. It's moving in the right direction, but the stock has not been. And I think, you talk about asymmetrical bets all the time. This could be one of those. And I think you might have to be patient with it. It could come back down to kind of 10, maybe even $9 to retest this sort of area here. But we're looking for at least a year out here, and I think it could be quite a good pick for the future. I know you like SOFI. You've had SOFI in the past. I know you sold out of it at some point, which you did pretty well. So I think it was up here, wasn't it? You sold.
Yeah, I pretty much sold out almost at the, like, wasn't at the complete top, but I did get out of that position, and I did post it when I got out.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on SOFI as a whole then?
Well, I think, as they say, trend is your friend. So I'm not touching SOFI, number one, until actually it breaks the $10 barrier. Would it break? I don't know. But I'm not touching SOFI until I see at a point where I'm like, I start to get interesting. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I just sent you the screenshot of the KPIs. You can take a look at those. I took it from a different system because it had to sign up on Visual Stocks. I was like, let me just give it to you from the app I use. Anyways, so I like SOFI, but I also don't want to buy something where I'm seeing a free fall. And at this point of time, from what I'm seeing, SOFI has not been able to break its 20-day SMA. It's been completely getting rejected from there, and that's where the problem lies. So until we see some sort of a trend break, and that's not going to happen until the broader market sentiments change. So we could completely see SOFI going lower, much lower. If you look at Robinhood, Robinhood was like high flying name, and a lot of people actually moved away from SOFI to Robinhood. So down to $60, $65 right now. It was trading at $150. Like the numbers, but it's less it's not as exciting as the AI trade. Let's put it this way, because retail traders, their attention span moves. There used to be a big following on SoFi. Now everybody's talking about AI trade. Now AI trade in everybody's an expert in AI.
Yeah.
So they were an expert
Yeah.
on the finance and banking. But end of the day, is like we talk about it's being an AWS of banking solution, but is it really changing anything?
Well, you can argue if it's changing something, but it's popular and it's increasing in popularity, and they're going to make more money from that.
Yes. I
So,
don't, I
from a
don't disagree.
fundamental point of view, I think it's an interesting company to have a look at the moment, which is why I've got obviously the charts you can see on the screen now. Pretty much all of them bottom left to top right.
I don't disagree with you. But right now, is this the most exciting frontier
No,
stuff we
but
are doing on SoFi? No, it's just a bank. Or it's
it
just
is.
like,
But we
yeah,
might be in a market where people might be looking at these stocks instead of the risky stocks because the risky
agreed,
stocks are just going crazy. So
agreed. Yeah. No,
people
I
might
agree
be,
with you.
yeah.
I agree with you. Me personally, I have moved on from the fintech space. I'm like, it's not exciting anymore. So as a retail investor, or not retail trader, I moved on to
Yeah.
more high profitable. Now, if it gets to $10 and below, I'll get excited about it. Let's put it this way.
Awesome. Okay, that was SoFi Weekly. That's my pick of the week, although obviously it's a bit more of a pick of the next couple of years. Again, you know, I'm not telling you to buy it because I'm not buying it yet just yet. I've started a small position, but I'm going to keep adding to it over the next couple of months, depending on what the market does. But yeah, no, I just wanted to bring people's attention to this name. It probably is already on their radars, but of course, just maybe a second look might be more key. Moving on, then we've got Meta, which is Kaye's pick of the week. Take it away, Kaye.
Listen, it's too messy of a chart.
It is
But all I
it's
want
quite out there, yeah.
it is like, when I took a screenshot of it, I forgot to switch off the moving averages. There was no like the zero value it's adding on this chart. Anyways, so I have the chart open. What do we tell? What do we talk about? We always talk about the gap fills, right? We say not all gaps get filled, but most do. And guess what? It's filling the gap. Nobody thought Meta is going to fill the gap at 500 and what, $64. Now you're looking at breaking the previous highs, which was the previous highs of when it was 2024, right? Or you can even go back to 2025 April, like when we had that big drop. Um, I think it's very interesting, and one of the main reasons for this massive candle on Friday was the lawsuit, right? That them and Google both got hit. I mean, it's nothing new, right?
Yeah, they
Nothing's
always
going
get
to
hit, don't they?
change. Nothing's going to change. Everything's going to go back to normal on that front, right? It's not like Meta's business is going to get impacted. People are still going to go on Facebook. People are still going to go on Instagram. People are still going to do. We're all human beings. We are just wired to, um, and and they say, oh well, they take your data, and yeah, because you buy things, right? And they have to make money off it. So I'm being a little bit cynical here on that. Nothing is going to happen. This is just an opportunity to buy the stock, unless you don't believe in the company per se in terms of the money they are bringing in. They did burn what, 80-90 billion dollars in the metaverse, for which they changed the name of the company from Facebook to Meta. So that is a different discussion altogether. But the lawsuit is just a distraction. There's a distraction to get you to sell. I think this is a good opportunity. I'm not saying this is the absolute bottom because nobody can call it, but these are levels that you should be tracking if you are into a Meta long term position.
Yeah, no, I'm not personally into Meta. I never really have been. Um, but I like to make money. So it's an interesting kind of
Yeah,
catch 22 we've got here. You've got a gap fill just below where we are as well, which is, I don't know what
exactly.
that level is, but there's a gap fill there.
That is
Um,
506.
506, yeah. And if we're talking about the SPY and the QQQ dropping further, then we're looking at probably breaking these lows. So obviously, I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of getting into this or adding to your position or whatever, but I'd probably have to see a bit of a bounce and then maybe a higher low set after that bounce, whenever that would be. But
I said this level that we are at, this is a critical level for, like, they have to bounce at this level, because this was the previous high many times. We have a lot of touch points for this. This is a
Yeah,
critical level. Now, if we break, I'm most likely thinking that the gap you're talking about is going to be,
fair.
explode. But then there's also a gap at the top where we had that drop down. It's the second yellow that I have highlighted. So that's the play for short term.
Oh,
But as you can
yeah,
see, we are this the descending triangle, right? This is interesting. It's going to get tighter and tighter as we go down, and then we'll probably see when it gets tighter. But at this point of time, we have to. I'm just watching right now. I'm not buying, but this is a critical level for it to hold.
and I think it's worth noting as well the RSI. If I just move us to one side there, RSI is sitting at 22, which it has been down this low before, but I think that can go further. I think that can go to about 15,
And it can
given where the
stay
market
longer,
is.
right? The last time it went down was on October 30th, 2025, and it stayed down until November of. So it could stay in that low RSI for almost a month. It was there last year. So
Yeah,
so it's not like today it went down and then tomorrow is going to be back up. You could look at a month, 2 month being in that level.
yeah, and that's why I don't like using the RSI as an indicator to get into trades. I kind of use it to confirm momentum and kind of, yes, it's interesting to look at, but I would never base my trade just off of the RSI. Other factors have to come into it for sure. Yeah, Meta. Then give us your thoughts in the comments below if you're in Meta, that kind of stuff. It's definitely an interesting name. There's a lot of interesting names at the top of the pile now. Nvidia's just kind of broken a bit of a wedge as well, which is interesting to see how full that. Maybe we can get that up on the charts. Let's have a look at
Actually,
Nvidia.
Tony,
Oh, it's already
Tony did,
there. Yeah, it's already
yeah,
there.
is requested as the audience. So all right, so we can kick it off with the audience then.
Awesome. Right, let me get this sorted.
We covered the. I think the only one other big ones missing are Tesla.
Yeah, but no one's buying that, are they?
It's not doing that bad, is it? I mean, I think I was on a Tesla trade last week. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, well.
I actually looked at Microsoft a little while ago. It's the first one up today, I think, isn't it, Microsoft? Is that right?
Yes, Justin brought it up, Microsoft. I will say before you actually begin, we were talking about it. I did exit my Microsoft position, long term position, and not because that I'm fearful of Microsoft, crashing and going bankrupt. It's just that I'm freeing up my capital because I was already
Yeah.
up a decent amount on that to actually put that money into SPY, where if we get like a 10%, 20% pullback, I want to build my SPY position to a bigger chunk in the portfolio, especially from a long term standpoint.
So we're down 35% from all-time highs, which is pretty dramatic. This is the weekly chart I've got up, and I have done some analysis on this in the past, but I kept it nice and simple in the end, which is basically support and resistance we can see here back in late 2021, so quite some time ago. Then again in middle of 2023. Then it acts as a support again last year in that kind of tariff crash we had in March, April, that kind of area. So, and obviously since then it kind of bounced nicely. It's come back down to that sort of level. I'm not too sure. I mean, this is an interesting area, of course, but it's not where the volume is. A little bit lower at 333, yeah, 333. That's where the volume really comes in. So if you could actually just move this box a little bit further down to maybe start position there, but then that you kind of run the risk of a lower low, which is interesting. That's a bad place to be, and you don't really want to buy on a lower low. But what are your thoughts on Meta? I don't really have much else to
Microsoft,
say.
you mean?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Microsoft.
So Microsoft is in a very precarious situation. So Microsoft became the poster child after ChatGPT came out, right? And they had like an absolute banger of a run. The problem they are having is their model Copilot sucks. If you work in enterprise, you know that their Copilot sucks. Number one. Number two,
It does, yeah.
um, the real AI players, which are OpenAI, Claude, Anthropic, and Google. XAI is like a joke, but anyways, these three in the enterprise space, are basically eating the lunch, right? So Microsoft, even though, and even Amazon is now slowly investing a little bit more money into OpenAI. So Microsoft is in a no man's land right now. The second problem that you have is Anthropic's AI is crashing all software companies. So if they are able to produce, I mean, think about this. This is the craziest thing. Anthropic's Claude can create better Excel documents than Microsoft's Copilot can. I mean, this is like, I get a brain freeze just thinking about it. Microsoft's own product cannot be created as well as Claude comes in and you ask it to create a nice Excel spreadsheet. It can create a beautiful Excel formatted Excel spreadsheet or a Word document. Microsoft product sucks to the core. That's
Is
the
Microsoft dead?
fundamental problem with Microsoft.
Is Microsoft dead now then?
No, again, we are not talking about being dead. It's not going to be dead. It's the 900-pound gorilla. It's not going to change because I'll give you an example. Going to back. So IBM, you think IBM is dead? IBM mainframes, which were back in the 90s, companies still till today use IBM mainframes. Not everybody has moved to cloud, right? So it's not like Microsoft. My enterprise market is a very different beast compared to a corporate market, for consumer market. It's very different. So I don't think Microsoft is dead, but right now, as they say, trend is your friend. If you have a position in Microsoft, start nibbling away slowly because you don't know when the trend will change. That has to be with the broader market. So there are a lot of headwinds against Microsoft. Number one is SaaS apocalypse. Microsoft is a SaaS company too. Second, they don't have their own AI LLM, right? That's the truth. And their products are getting outmaneuvered by the AI products, right? Like Claude, Google products. Like even if you use your products like Excel spreadsheet, or I'm just talking about basic stuff versus the Google sheet, right? Night and day difference. So
Tough times for Microsoft then.
tough time for
Tough
Microsoft.
times.
That's why I'm not that big fan right now. So I'm like, let me just exit the position out, and I can build it. If we see a downturn. Also, if I don't, that's also okay because generally you're covered with Microsoft in terms of QQQ or SPY if you have that position.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting in the earnings season as well, see what they say in the earnings call.
But I will say this right now: it's not dead. Okay,
No.
we will have a bounce. It's just in a bad free fall right now because Microsoft will figure it out. But there's another problem. I forgot to tell you about this problem. This is a bigger problem on the hardware side. So if you know Apple, and this is the reason I brought Apple up. Apple was not playing the game of a cheap laptop. So they launched the most recent laptop at $599, right?
Yeah.
$699 or $599, something like that, and then $100 cheaper for the students. Which student is going to buy an Acer laptop, a HP laptop, a Dell laptop, or any other Microsoft product when they can buy an Apple product?
Had the whole ecosystem there when they've already got their own iPhone,
Correct.
kind of stuff.
Because $1,000 laptop, you're competing with my Apple Air, and then when you go to $2,000, you're competing with Pro, where Apple was already very strong. But Apple was not there in the $500-$600 range. Now they are. So something to think about.
We'll move on from Microsoft. We spent a lot of time on that one. What have we got next then? NVIDIA.
Nvidia, yes. Today's all the big names.
It always is when the market comes down. Always is. We've been doing this for years now, and whenever this sort of pullback happens, back in last April, again it was just big names. I remember talking about it quite a lot. So this one is a video. We'll switch over to the weekly chart because you can see this line a little bit clearer. This, of course, is a previous trend line that kind of goes back to, mid parts of 2024. As you can see there, was previous resistance trend line, and then it's kind of come back down to support trend line. We've broken that. Unless it comes straight back up and closes above this line next week, which, the likelihood is low. It's not impossible, of course. The market is the market. Then I see that we have broken this trend line. In which case we're looking kind of down towards the previous resistance, I would think. Would you agree there, Kaye? 150-ish?
Yeah. Yeah, 153.94 is your highs from equal highs from what? November 2024, January
Yeah.
2025, and June 2025.
And
So
would
yeah,
you be happy to buy at that level personally, or would you wait
I mean,
even
if
further?
it starts coming down to 150, I'm definitely adding to my position.
And I
Because
guess once it comes down,
I already have a huge Nvidia position. So for me,
yeah,
I don't want to add too much, but if it starts to get to 150, I'm definitely I'll be getting interested in adding a
and
little
if it
bit
comes
more.
down to 150, we're probably looking at the MACD down below the kind of halfway line of the histogram.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at the RSI down kind of 25-30, so that's not too bad either. Again, not reasons to enter a trade, but reasons to kind of, look at these positions.
Because if you look at your weekly, there is hardly any volume. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, nothing between here. So
exactly.
it could easily go to 150, and it probably, in my mind, it probably will. Which we've spoken, about with the SPY and the QQQ, just with the nature of the way the market's going, the way people are feeling, the way the world is. It just makes psychological sense in my head. But my head is strange, so it could be complete opposite. Okay, well, it's quite simple there on the video, isn't it? I mean, we're looking for the 150 level. Let's have a look at upside targets. If we get back into this range of the wedge, if that was to happen, we're looking at obviously breaking, this side, the upside, and obviously making a move towards kind of 200. So yeah, that's the other argument as well for people to have a look at.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on then.
Palantir.
Oh, I don't know what Palantir's doing these days.
Well, Palantir is making lower highs.
Not
That's what
bad
they're
actually. Yeah, but considering where the market's been, it's not too bad actually.
If you think about it, they have held pretty well.
They've held really well, actually. Obviously, a lot of people on this kind of run up here with calling for it to kind of go back down to 30, 40. It's never going to stay up here. And look, we're 140. It's incredible, really, what the stock has done in the last few years. It really is. And it really pains me to have a look at it because I sold way too early. I made money, but I sold way too early. And it's just, yeah, it hurts every time I look at the stock.
I mean, if you think about it, like
That's
even when I
investing.
sold out, right? I sold around the 70, 80 level, and then it ran up to what 200 level, right? So I sold out too early too. But point is, I'm not poor, right? I still made 500% on that trade.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what you've got to take the wins for what they are. But yeah, in terms of where the stock is now, of course, we've got the stock. I drew this 157.9, but I'm not too sure why I did that. It should be a little bit higher here, maybe 162. Clearly struggling to get through there. Last week we kind of rebounded off that in a negative way. I guess breaking these lows would be interesting. Like really
I
interesting.
mean, those lows. I don't want to say this, but on our way up here, we created 4 gaps at various levels
On the daily, yeah.
on the daily. Yes,
Let's have a
exactly.
look.
So it's. I'm not saying they're gonna revisit it, but
Yeah, there's a few gaps, isn't there?
it's
I've got my
that's I don't expect it to go there yet unless there is something really really comes out. Like for example, SMCI, right? They got caught, smuggling chips to China,
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, well,
right? It's hammered that stock. Um,
that's one you liked as well, wasn't it? SMCI.
dude, I'm down on my position on SMCI
Oh,
because of
still
that.
in it.
I mean that's a black swan event. How would I know that they would be smuggling chips to China?
No, you wouldn't know. Yeah. Okay, so there's 3 gaps on the screen there. You've got the first one, 111-ish, 96, and then 41 all the way down there. So they're the levels to look at if we do break these lows, of course. Which, of course, if momentum carries on, there's no reason why it can't. Where to buy though would be interesting for a longer term investor. Switch back to the weekly. I kind of like the weekly in these times. Of course, you've got big resistance to this sort of area. Anywhere between maybe 96 and 111.
But
Could be
that also
interesting.
depends on your cost basis, right? For long-term investors, like if your cost basis is in the 20s
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
10s,
You just leave
I
it
would
then.
not. I would not be touching it. You really would want to hope that it comes down to those $40. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know. But I'm saying, for people who have a really low cost basis, they wouldn't want to touch your. Why would you want to increase your cost basis here?
At that point, though, would you, if you thought it might come down to kind of 30, 20, that kind of, and you've got the stock now, you've had it since, $5, $10. Would you take some off the table if you haven't already? You
Well,
should have
I
done
would have.
already, I would say, but
Yes, because the point is always portfolio management, right? You're managing a portfolio of
yeah,
stocks. You cannot have one stock be 90% of your portfolio, because you would be up, like during green days, or during the bull market you are like the genius, but during red days like this you are like a pauper, because your portfolio is going to get destroyed. and
yeah,
and and I'm telling you, it's not always that you made like 10,000% on your portfolio and you're down again, you lost all that money. There is no guarantee it will go back to that level.
exactly. Take the winners when you can get them.
Yeah,
Not the
so
whole lot, but
not the whole
trim
lot,
them.
not
Yeah,
the whole lot, but you have to be more strategic, right? So for example, if I had, like, say 1,000 shares of Palantir and it's running, I'm not going to sell them. I'm going to run covered calls on it, and I'll keep minting money on it. And, like, for example, I'll separate 300 shares off, right? For example, I'll give you an example. 1,000 shares, I'll separate 300 shares or 400 shares, 40%, and I'll just run covered calls and make income on that. And then all the income that I'm getting I'm pulling it back into Palantir, running a cash secured port. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm running this cycle ecosystem where I'm continuing to make money off my existing stocks, and the premium that I get goes and buys more Palantir. So I can keep running this cycle, for a decent amount of time while I'll make money on that, right? So by that time, I'll have enough funds, and then I'll divert into other opportunities, right? Because people who bought Palantir at 10, 20, 30, 40, dude, you have made your money on this one. There are other opportunities. Why do you want to be? Don't get emotionally stuck on this portfolio, right? Like, it's this is not the only stock in the world. People
no,
who were in Tesla, they did the same thing, right? They made money. People in Nvidia made money. People in Apple made money. They've been making money since 1980s.
yeah, just a bit. All right, then we'll move on from Palantir. We've given them
We
enough
covered
airtime.
Microsoft from Neha, so we'll cover IGV. That's the ETF for SaaS companies. Oh my god!
Expanded tech software.
It,
Yeah, this is wow. Actually, you brought this up, haven't you, near Halala? But you've got a lot of support at this level.
it is, yeah.
It doesn't look like it's going to hold with the market the way it is, but there is support here. I mean, with this type of market that we're in, I'm not going to buy much really, let alone this one. But yeah, it's giving you signs of potentially a buying area. Would you agree?
I mean, I think if you are in SaaS business, you would rather go the ETF route at this point of time than go and pick up these
Yeah, we spoke
individual
about
SaaS
that.
companies. So yes, I think from an IGV perspective, I think there is a decent amount of volume below that level, so you will see a lot of trading happening at those levels. So that, if as long as that holds, because if you think about it, most SaaS companies are already down drastically from their all-time high. So there's only so much it can go down. You cannot just go and go bankrupt, right? Those softwares they are still making money, right? There's only so much narrative can take you. And this, by the way, I don't know when that's going to happen. The switch is going to happen, but let me just share this with you guys. So I have started hearing on Twitter, in various forums and stuff like that, even on Reddit, that now they are saying, hey, you can vibe code anything and everything. Great. But when you have defects in that vibe code, and a non-developer, or a non-person who doesn't know coding, they just vibe coded by typing something in Claude, they put together. But now when you have defects coming out, they don't know how to fix it. So this is, I don't know if this is the one, this is how it's being, framed to change the narrative back for software companies. I don't know, but I'm starting to see this trend little bit. A lot more people are talking about it, and sometimes, these are the signals that kind of changes the momentum, because the momentum has to change on SaaS, otherwise SaaS is going to get destroyed. If you think about it, right, all the analysts are coming and saying SaaS is not dead. SaaS is going to be the tool AI is going to use. Like, why would Claude want to create something, or any AI would like to create something which already exists? Okay. Then you have even the NVIDIA CEO saying the same thing. That why would you want to create a CAD when CAD already exists?
Yeah.
So that interesting.
Interesting.
I don't know if
Yeah.
this is the tripping point, but I'm starting to see this conversation a lot in the forums. So maybe this could be the strand of that might change the narrative down the road.
I think with the market the way it is, and obviously I'm definitely in the camp of it's going to go further down. I've made no hesitation from that tonight from today's session.
Mhm.
So if we break these lows, I'm looking at, and I actually quite interested in this as well because I see an opportunity here,
Yeah.
especially from an ETF point of view as well. So you don't have to worry about any of the stocks; just hold the position. Obviously, have risk management in place from a very broad point of view. But yeah, this area 67 to what was it 67 to 70, that sort of area, that's where the volume picks up again. And I would like it to hold there. And obviously, you can keep a stop loss around 62, 60, that kind of area. So you can keep it fairly loose, and you won't lose too much of it. But it does kind of come down. Obviously, it's kind of almost trying to catch the bottom, which is always tricky. It's always a tricky game. But if you see a little bit of stability there, perhaps price action starts kind of chopping in that area, or what's it called, consolidating in that sort of area. There's something there potentially. And as Kaye spoke about, if the narrative does start changing potentially going forward, then that's another thing to look at. I'm glad you brought this one up near Halala. I put it down on my list. It's the only thing that's on my list at the moment, so that's always a good sign. But yeah, no, I'm liking this. I don't like it yet, but I'm liking it for the future for sure.
All right. Next is LRCX. Oh, Lamb Research. Okay.
Wow, but the only stock that's still up in its highs. What do they do? Lab. Oh, I'm guessing research.
They I think are like
bio-
ARM, but let
biotech.
me just double check.
Flying pretty high at the moment. Let's have a look at the daily chart. Might give us a little bit more insight. Coming back down to the 50 moving average on the lower band there of the cloud. That's the 50 down here, and this is the 20.
They design, manufacture, refurbish services semiconductor processing equipment used in the fabrication of IC in the US and internationally, basically. So semiconductor.
So it needs to make a higher low here for sure, especially around the 50 moving average. If it doesn't, then we're probably going to continue down to make a lower low, which is not ideal, of course. But we do have a bit of a broadening channel here, which is always nice to see if you're at the bottom of the channel. But yeah, tricky to make a judgment from where it is now. It definitely needs to make a stand at probably the psychological level of 200 there, as you can see on the screen. If it doesn't make a stand there, then I think we're going to the bottom of the channel. Any thoughts on the chart here, Kaye?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think I think the trend is still looking downward, right? Because it's starting to make lower highs, and it's a tricky one though, I would say, because if that the level that you have drawn, I think 200, right?
Yeah.
If that breaks, there's not much volume
No, there's not
until
much
like what
volume.
170, 165, 170.
Yeah, until the bottom of the channel, really. Got a bit of resistance here, but not much. It's an interesting one because I'd like to see if you can bring this one up again in maybe 2 or 3 weeks' time near Halala. It'd be interesting to see what kind of happened and how it kind of
Oh, that was money managed.
matured.
That was money managed.
Oh, sorry, money managed. My mistake. Yeah, of course, money managed. So if you can bring this one up in a few weeks' time, then it'd be interesting to see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it, of course. I'll put it on the watch list so I can have a look at myself. But if you bring it up again in the future, we can, laugh at how wrong we've analysed it.
Next
Okay,
is TSEM, which is also semiconductor.
Tower Semiconductor.
Yeah.
There's also a case of like SMH as well and SOXL for times like these. If you think semiconductors are going to continue to rule the world, then ETFs and this sort of thing as well. Wow, this one's doing pretty well. So not too sure what this candle is, but this looks like some sort of acquisition or some sort of partnership perhaps, because it's not an earnings date. Something news related happened at this point here. Maybe Money Manager, if you can have a look at that. Okay, of course, you're here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
You have a bit of a supply zone here.
Was it like around March 25th? Can you see the date?
It was.
So they say
19th of March,
19th of March. So
Thursday.
19th of March, they have something, they continue to power higher following the Oriole Networks deal. So it seems like there was some sort of a deal with some
Yeah,
entity.
that makes sense. Given the price action on the day, it opened at the bottom of the candle head, of course, and up there. So up. Oh no, I've got the wrong line. Silly me. The line I want is the info line. Here we go. So it was up 20% on that news. I would expect it to come back down. Obviously, it's not a gap, which is really interesting. Sometimes you gap up on this news, so obviously it must have been intraday news. But I think coming back down to this sort of level here, as you can see, between 136 and 146, nice $10 range. Of course, you've got the kind of moving average around this level as well, bit of volume, periods of resistance. So yeah, anywhere around this sort of area, I think would be really appealing for future investors, especially if they can hold the news of that deal. You know, hopefully they don't have to raise any capital or anything like that. I don't know what this company is like, I don't know how big they are, but just be aware that if a company makes a move like this, sometimes they raise capital to obviously fund their future operations. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Any thoughts on
No, I
TSL
think you
here?
pretty much covered this one. So next is PLAB, Photronics.
Plab, what a
Plab.
word. Yeah.
I think they might be semiconductor too, right? Yeah, they are. Yes.
Big old gap down there, Kaye. That's
Oof.
there you go. Have a look
Not
at
fun.
that.
And boss, there's no volume there.
No, but if you zoom out, there will be. Not much though.
Hmm.
Yes, there's a bit of a volume pickup at 29, halfway
Yeah.
through the gap. But
That's a
obviously the
big
most,
drop from 20, like $10 drop.
yeah, the biggest volume gap's down to 25. So that, yeah, I mean that's what you're looking for here, isn't it? Especially in
And
these market conditions.
yeah, exactly. I think these market conditions, gaps are, you know,
Vulnerable.
yeah, I mean, you will see those gaps getting filled. I mean, people were not thinking Meta's gap would get filled, right? Meta was trading at $700. The gap was at 542. Right now, Meta is 525.
That's a 34% drop from where we are now, ish. So
But
it's possible, but it's got to take a lot for that to kind of come down.
yeah, but if you think about the highs, it's get so seems like that seems to be the ceiling on the highs, right? You have almost
Yeah, double top there, isn't it?
double top here, rejection over there.
Would you short this position, or would you just wait for a buying opportunity at down
I
at
I
26?
so I'll say this, like I'm not that good at shorting.
No,
Like
same. Yeah, I'm not very good.
yeah, I don't get that lucky with shorting.
I think it's a mindset thing. I always look for green positions and long positions.
Yeah.
So if I look at a short position and it goes green, I'm just like, oh, okay. So people, it goes green, but then it starts going red again. I think, oh, people are coming back into it. My mindset is basically set for long positions. I short the market all the time, but it's just the way mindset. Maybe your mindset is similar. Who knows?
Probably. All right, next one is Google. Google, and then we have Micron, and we can wrap it up, I guess.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh,
Good
if
session
we have
today.
time, we can cover Tesla.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you wanted to do Apple, didn't you?
Yes, Apple. I totally forgot Apple. Yes, Apple, Tesla. Yeah, let's go through these. All the big ones.
So Google has fallen off a shelf in the last couple of weeks, particularly. I've got a zone drawn here already from previous analysis, and that's basically down to previous trend line-ish, not perfect, but it's about 250-ish. What are your thoughts on Google at the moment? I know you're a big fan
Yeah,
of
I
Google.
listen. I think from a Google perspective, I think Google got also caught up with Meta on
Yeah,
the
lawsuits.
candle that you have is basically because of the lawsuit. It's definitely noise, I would say. But remember, there is a gap at the 215 level, 215 to 223 on the daily candle.
This one here.
Yeah, which is about another 20% drop.
There's a gap there as well, just before that.
I wouldn't like assume that that's not going to happen. That could absolutely happen.
That would be a very interesting time to buy that as well, or a very appealing time, not interesting. This gap fill I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not really much else to say from Google, is there?
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely a lot of noise from Meta and Google for the lawsuit. That always is the case. Happens with these companies. The next is Micron, MU, and then after that, Apple.
So Micron still sitting happily at the kind of not highs, but it's definitely in perspective of the last year's performance. It's very running down, should we say? And it's a good reason for that. They've posted really outstanding fundamentals in the last 3 to 4 quarters, actually, which is very, very impressive. Let's jump out to the weekly chart because I had this up a little while ago. Of course, the last 2 weeks have been pretty rough for Micron, but if just perspective wise, there's still a lot more room to come down, in my opinion. So, but where that is, I couldn't tell you. I'm not very good at analysing these stocks that have run up, especially on the weekly charts, and
Dude,
coming down to certain
really,
levels.
like on 4/4, the stock was trading at $63.
Yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
it has absolutely flown. 4-4.
4/4/25 last year,
Oh,
April.
yeah. In my head, I was like, we're not there yet, actually. Okay.
Which
Yeah,
is
I
next
mean,
week, actually. If you think about it, like exactly 1 year
yeah,
next.
incredible performance. I mean, that 259 level would be something I'd look at. It all depends on the market at that time. If it does get down there, of course, it could just chop for a while, and then when the market does recover and kind of do whatever it needs to do, it will kind of flow with that. But if we are to get a bit of a further downside, 259 would be my first level of interest. As you can see, first point of resistance, previous resistance, sorry. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. I prefer the ETFs at this point.
Well, I hope Money Manager, you were in the 90s or 60s or 70s when you were in Micron.
I'm sure
Hopefully.
he was. I'm sure he was. Apple then to finish off the week, we've got Apple. I'll get
Yeah,
Kaye to kind of run this one through.
dude.
He's
I
very
mean,
excited
I'm
about this.
Justin, have a great Easter as to you as well. I think from an Apple perspective, I really think the Apple has been performing decently bad last year, right? I mean, the stock price doesn't say it, but Apple hasn't been very exciting company to invest or trade. But there are a couple of things, even though the chart doesn't is not looking great, but I think there are a couple of interesting things that are coming out. Like, so they were the most they haven't really spent any money on capex on AI stuff. Right now, the news is coming. Hey, Siri is going to be opening up to integrate with all the AI bots, right? And that suddenly helps Apple. So that's forget the AI aspect. AI is there. I really think the biggest piece that they are having is the launch of the MacBook.
The
Uh,
Neo one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really not, people are not paying attention, but that market, and I'll tell you the reason why. So Apple is pushing very hard to get into the Indian market, right? Which has a population of what? The biggest population on planet Earth. The problem is people cannot buy $2,000 laptops there, right? People over here also have trouble buying $2,000, $4,000 laptop, but a $400, $500 laptop, it starts to get very competitive. So just the sheer amount of market on the just a simple product that they launched, it's not getting that much of a fanfare because it's just a laptop with a Apple mobile phone chip there. But that's the segment that Apple was never playing in before, and that could
It's
become. Go ahead.
it's increasing its moat.
Yeah.
And it's already got a good moat as it is, but it's
Yeah.
increasing. The T section of that is obviously total
Ex-
addressable market. It's
exactly.
increasing that.
Exactly. And if you think about it, right? If you own an iPhone and you end up getting, I'm talking about students, for example, kids, teenagers, right? They will have an Apple iPhone. Once they get a Neo, the software is amazing, right? The software is smooth.
Yeah.
Whatever you start in Apple MacBook, you can carry forward on your phone. You can carry forward into your iPad and whatever, right? Just the smoothness, right? That was always there, but that was always very premium. I think that this strategy of launching Neo is going to be a big driver. Forget AI. Keep AI on the sidelines. Whatever happens, we don't know what will happen with AI. But this, I think, from a product perspective, from a long, long time, I think after the AirPods launch, this is the really the product launch that got me excited for Apple back again.
And we've spoken about, especially you've spoken about Apple in the last, I don't know, 18 months or so, fairly negatively.
Mm-hmm.
I would say your bias has been quite negative. I mean, as you can see on the chart here, it's not panned out quite like that, although it has had its moments. But for you to turn around and say, actually, Apple looks not price-wise, but appealing as a company-wise because of this new strategy that they've got, on top of everything else that they're kind of doing as well, or trying to do, shall we say, that's a pretty interesting sign. Because that is pessimist telling us an optimist is a big statement.
Like, even when I was a pessimist, Apple still has the biggest position in my portfolio, right? So I haven't really sold out of Apple. I don't build on it. I just let it run. But I really think that they have unlocked that market which they were never playing in before. Like companies like Acer, Asus, HP, they never had to compete with Apple at that price point. Now they will have to compete.
Exactly. Well, I think that wraps up a really interesting live stream. It's been a rough few weeks in the markets, of course, and hopefully today has helped ground you slightly, if not excite you for the next week, perhaps. And there's been plenty of lessons throughout today's episode, and I think the main one is basically just evaluate your portfolio, take your time with it. If you don't want to trade, you find it overwhelming, just don't trade. I'm definitely trading a lot less these days. I don't know if you are, Kaye, as well. But yeah, just relax and take it day by day. We're not going to be here next week. It's Easter Sunday. Everyone enjoy your times with your families. A couple of really nice comments here. We've got have a good day from Justin. You too, Justin. Another one here from Money Manager. Beautiful session. Thanks, guys. No problem at all. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time to analyse the markets and see what else has happened in the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully, the next time we come back, we are back into at least not extreme fear, but maybe fear, maybe neutral. Who knows? Maybe things will improve, right? Maybe Easter spring is going to mark a new beginning.
Yeah, there's always opportunities, regardless of when it is throughout the year. And that's what we try and point out on these streams. Massive thank you again to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. And any final words from UK to close out today's stream?
No, I think next week's going to be a short week. Enjoy. Don't get too bogged down with what's happening. This is just a cycle. Just like we go up, we come down, and then we go up.
Exactly. Well said. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And take care, Kate, and trade safe.